there's a lot of creators pushing this idea of you should document your journey. If you're new or if you're experienced, whatever you may be, a lot of these creators and influencers are saying document what you're learning and everything's going to be great. And I want to give my opinion on this. Even though I may have this channel, which may not be big right now, I am setting this up to be a decade-long process. And for me personally, if you don't know who I am, I'm actually a marketing lead for an agency. Work with about 5 to 6 different clients right now, and I actually took one Instagram specifically from 5K to about 104K within a year. Their Instagram that was standing around, I think, about 6K followers is now up to 125. We've grown YouTube from 0 to now almost 50K. So I have experience with doing this, and I kind of want to give my opinion on this because I have a different kind of outsider's view of how I perceive this. So if you give me that time, I'm going to kind of outline all that. And by the way, it is 4:16. I'm starting my day with a video because my goal is to make a video every day. Now, am I going to be hitting that mark? Probably not. But my goal is to do that. I'm thinking in terms of a quarter, a semester, a year, a decade. And so if you guys have not seen that video, I'm actually, I didn't mention in that video, but I'm switching my sleep schedule to waking up a lot more earlier. And it all starts with progress and kind of viewing from that framework. So if you haven't seen that video in terms of how to structure your progress, whether you're working with other people, how you should view their process and kind of go about it, then I completely encourage you guys to check out that previous video that I just posted. With that out of the way, let's get into this mass push for the creator economy where people are talking about you should document your journey. Now, I think this first started really big was Gary Vee. I have not read his book. I think there's a book by him originally called Hook, Jab, which outlined the idea specifically you should provide value, you should build a relationship in the social media space, and social media and really advertising and marketing is going to this new digital economy that you should get in on, and you should build kind of your social medias and your presence as if you would with a person, where you build a relationship by getting tons and tons and tons of values, kind of stacking this up. I think a great way, the way I kind of perceive it, is very similar to, I think, what I read in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he mentions this idea of, well, the author, I think Covey, mentions the idea of where you have, when you have a relationship, you kind of have like a certain amount, like a certain bar of kind of trust you build, trust value that you build with someone. As you give more and more value, you kind of stack it up over time. And the moment you start asking or having to ask, you start to take away from that kind of goodwill that you built up over time. And I think that's what Gary Vee kind of builds his foundation on, where he says you want to build this relationship so then when you have to ask, it seems like a no-brainer. And so he started kind of this idea of, hey, you should document your journey. That later went on to, I think, specifically Russell Brunson in his book, I think .com Secrets. I think .com Secrets, or it might have been Traffic Secrets. One of the two, where he even brings it up himself, where he says you should document your journey. Or it might have been Expert Secrets, whatever it may have been. Either way, I digress. He goes into that. And I think it's interesting because he kind of mentions the same thing. You should be documenting everything. And it starts to get a little bit convoluted because I hear different conversations. People are like, okay, well, I understand what I should be talking about. But when I look at other creators and other people beginning, they are blowing up a lot faster than what I'm doing in my content. And I see them kind of pushing this narrative of, oh, I made 120K within 2 weeks or within 48 hours. And they get huge spikes. And it's like, okay, but I'm not to that point yet. I'm not to that point where I have those results. But yet people are still telling me to generate or talk about my journey. I'm not in the place where I'm making that in 48 hours. I'm learning and stacking skills, and that's the whole point of this video of my channel, is to really document my journey here. If you find value, great, awesome. If you don't, then I'm just going to be here consistently pushing out and getting better with it. And so maybe over time we can get to that point. But with that, it started with there, and now has sprung over to Alex Hormozi, who he gets pretty much, I mean, he built his own company. He gave pretty much everything. His motto really is, you give everything away and then you sell the implementation. I have not really done that. I work in a specific niche where it's very interesting, where we do give a lot of value, but then again, it's a little bit different in how we approach it, and so I can't really talk on that. But what I am doing here is kind of giving my thoughts with this journey, with what I'm learning. So there's that point, and then there's a video I watched that kind of flipped this idea as well, where it was different from what everyone has kind of said of this journey or this lineage of how this has progressed. And it was from someone named Nick Setter, or it's Nick Setting, I think. Makes good videos. Have not talked to him one-on-one. I think he has some pretty good solid videos. When I was watching one of his videos, he's mentioned the idea of really kind of journaling, or not really journaling, but documenting your journey. It's not that you sit down to record a video, because then it comes off like, oh, you're setting aside time to do this, and that shows you're not really a busy working person who's active in the field. Like, if you're 100% like dedicated to the field and you're always working, then wouldn't it make sense to record yourself while you are doing that thing? Yes, in theory, yes. And it's a good idea, but it doesn't really address the big thing, because what he does is exactly kind of what he preaches, where he goes to webinars, he goes to specifically he goes and helps out clients, and he has like one-on-ones, and then he records snippets of that and posts it out. I think that's great, and I think it's for certain people. Actually, anyone can really adopt it. I think there's key kind of tenets, key points you could take from that. Yes, you could probably record your conversations with the people you're working with, but then that comes into a legality issue of okay, well, I can't record their voices unless I'm making them aware, whatever. And he probably makes them aware beforehand. That's completely fine. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. The point I'm trying to get at is that he brings a different kind of idea to this, that when you're in these conversations, when you're having these one-on-ones, a lot of things kind of just flow a lot more naturally. It just comes to the mind. You say the right words, the right time, and it clicks for that person. And if it clicks for that person, then probably it's going to click for other people. And so there's that kind of degree where he mentions it just makes sense to probably not sit down and record, because it feels like you're forcing yourself and spends more time. My opinion is, I think there's a good balance of both. And I started thinking about this more, about what is really the meta concept. What is the overarching kind of concept and key takeaway when we're talking about specifically, okay, document yourself. Okay, you should document your journey and what you do. And I look back at people like, and this is like more in the gaming, but it's not even gaming, like just a streamer. Like, we look at someone like Kai Cenat, who's been doing YouTube. There's big news recently about him specifically stopping streaming, and he's been at it for, I think, about like 13 years or 10 years or something. No, it was 7 years. It was about 7 or 8 years I saw from his oldest videos. When I look at someone like Speed, he's been doing it for 13 years. Alex Hormozi, he kind of put a timeline of 10 years for himself. And so it goes back to that concept of really, what is your timeline on this? What's an actual timeline that makes sense? It's probably going to be a decade if you really want to build that authority and kind of elevate yourself. And the bigger question that also comes from this, that I remember I was in an agency group and someone's kind of asking about this, is they were saying, I don't have ideas, what should I do? And then the guy started giving ideas, and he's like, But there's a bigger thing you got to ask yourself is, do you want a more personal brand, or do you want more of a brand on specifically what you are specifically selling or your niche? And these are two different concepts. Even though they might seem very similar, when you start to unpack this, they're two separate things. Because when it's a more personal brand, you probably are going to give a little more exposure about who you are, more context, more just more stuff on who you are, and it's more personal. You're giving maybe a little more updates. You're more of a personality online compared to just talking only about that one thing and not really going past that. And so that's what the approach I'm taking, is really just the first thing of being a personal brand, owning my personal brand, because I know typically there's probably more solutions or more opportunities with this. Yes, I'm still going to be talking about probably like my core kind of pillars of this channel is to talk about AI, how to kind of be ahead of AI, how to thrive, how to be ahead of it and really take advantage of it. Okay, that's one. Marketing in general. I really like marketing, how to track stuff, how to video edit. I've been video editing for a super long time, so I know that. How to copyright. I'm learning copywriting. I want to share my journey with that. And so I'm giving this whole ecospace, but within that context, I'm also sharing my learnings, which is more of a personal brand approach compared to just selling, okay, how to make a funnel, how to make a funnel easily, how to make a funnel in 10 minutes, how to make a lead page, how to make a sales page, how to make like just hitting all those key points that you should hit if you're doing more niche, so you can spread, like have a broad out approach of all the areas that you would touch on that specific end for your specific niche. I'm not taking that approach. I'm taking the personal brand, and I know that's going to be taking longer because I'm getting people to invest in me because I'm bullish on me, right? And so I know where I'm going to go, and I want to share what I wish I knew to my younger self, but also what I'm learning so I can help out others. So that's the goal of this. And so when it comes to journaling, not really journaling, I say journaling. I've mentioned a couple times. I had a couple kind of mentions of journaling in this video. And that's really how I view this. This is like your online journal. Instead of journaling by hand, obviously there's certain stuff you're not really going to say on a video like this. But for me, this is actually one of my outlets. And I've talked to other people about this where, or I've heard conversations of other kind of, you could say growth operators currently. That's the term being used right now. But it's just people in the kind of marketing space who are making funnels, kind of doing the back end operations and all that, setting up webinars for these people, setting up the copywriting and all that for these creators. There's this concept of, for them, like they like writing emails. Like I know one guy who was an agency owner who was doing incredible numbers, and he had his own kind of agency group. He said, does it really make sense for me to write my own personal emails to my personal channel for the people to sign up to? He's like, probably not. But it's one of those outlets that even though it might not move the needle tons, it does have your driving leads. It's just kind of his creative outlet to kind of let go and just kind of spit out his thoughts, put out his thoughts on a page. Just get it out there. And I remember there was someone else, I think in the space as well, that talked about how even though AI is probably almost to the point where it's probably better than him, he finds just writing more of a natural kind of calming process to kind of let out his creative side. And so that is the approach I have taken it with this. Yes, I do like writing. I like writing, but I like presenting as well. I truthfully do. I was really good back in university, but the whole point I'm trying to get, I'm not even going to talk about that. The point I'm getting at is this doesn't have to be a full-on gotta make a video. No. If you like recording videos, then record videos. If you like doing long forms like these, just kind of letting out how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, this is kind of what it is, a digital kind of outlet of daily updates. And that's the approach I've taken it. If you ever seen, I think a good example of this, I think it was from Avatar the movie, the ones with the blue people. the idea, the whole concept. I haven't watched it in a bit. It's been a long time, but I know they released a new movie just recently. But the concept is that I think the military is looking at this species because, and they're like taking some humans to implanting, chips into the minds to pretty much inhabit another body. I don't know if it's on another world or whatever, and pretty much they kind of infiltrate and learn secrets about them, so then they can pretty much take their land and kind of use it for capitalism, whatever it may be. The whole overarching idea, and so that was that. But when they are kind of infiltrating this new species, these blue people, they're kind of taking daily journals. They're taking daily journals and they're recording at the end of each day, kind of like scientists. They're saying, they're clicking record, they're saying, okay, today is this date, this is what I learned, this is what's working, this is what's not working, this is my thoughts, here's my doubts, here's my concerns, here's what I think we're going towards, and kind of just giving you updates. And I think that's exactly how you should look at this. It doesn't have to be in a box where it's like, okay, I'm not making 200K within 48 hours, but that's okay, because I'm working towards it and I want to share my growth. Because at the end of the day, people want to see growth. People want to get behind someone because they want to feel inspired. They want to see other people say and point to that and say, hey, this person did it. If they can do it, I've seen their journey. It did take long, but if they did it, and I see how they did it, and I can see their videos, their doubts, their concerns, how they are questioning everything at each step of the way, that means I probably can do it. Because then they can kind of paint that as a, okay, this is the path, it's already been proven, that means I can do it. It's exactly like the 4-minute mile everyone kind of talks about. I think I've heard it so much recently that I think it's kind of over repeated, but again, I guess I have nothing really to do with again there. But it's the same idea. I think it's really just starting rather than once you have results. Now, I think there had to be a clear, like a clear thing where it's like, okay, if you have results, then that's probably going to give you a boost. That's probably going to give you credibility to talk on specific topics. If you don't have that, but you're in the weeds, you're kind of in the process of doing that, then make it clear, hey, this is where I'm currently at, this is what I'm trying, and I'm going to feed you back the results on what I'm getting. Here's what I think is going to happen, and then you come back maybe a week later and say, okay, this is what actually happened. And so you kind of just do it. You kind of report on what you're doing. You're kind of like a scientist. That's really what marketing is. You're kind of just like scientists, like doctors, like they have all these different like symptoms that when a patient comes to them, they have all these different symptoms that they're trying to connect together to give a probability of, okay, you have probably this thing. It's not 100% guaranteed. It's just their professional opinion based on all the data points they have. Same exact thing. Marketing is the same exact thing. And so once you get that in your mind, that it's really just tons of testing and seeing what works, seeing what sticks, and using what's already out there in the market to kind of fuel your strategy, then that'd be amazing. So that's everything. I know it's 20 minutes. Hopefully it's helpful. If it is, then subscribe, like. I'm going to try to keep on waking up early. It's 4:33 right now. I'm going to get started with my day. And so start off with this. It's a video. I'm going to try to make these videos a lot more. So on that note, I'll leave it there. And if you have not checked that other video where I talked about progress and viewing everything in terms of just how you should really view and why most people get it wrong, and how you should view not in just days but more into quarters, semesters, years, decades, and how you can apply this not only to yourself, but how when you look at other people like employees, co-workers, or even maybe even friends, then when you start to have this understanding, you can give them more kind of motivation and encouragement compared to being mad at them because they're not at a certain stage. I outline it in the whole video. So check it out, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.